Welcome to the May update of the New Haven Willoughby line. I've got a lot of little things to show you, so stick around. So the first thing to go over is some structure location changes. I had initially had this building here in this spot. I had as much gotten the groundwork up around it with Sculpt-A-Mold, painted it, set it in, took a night or two to kind of get it situated in there level. And then I decided I kind of liked it over here. So I moved it. And I'm working on getting this whole little scene set up. So I've got the road that comes across, that will eventually go across that and then go behind probably. So I avoid that road to nowhere issue that I've had. But I've got a few little details in there. I've got the ice machine step and little awning on that structure at the far end there. So I think I went over this in the last update. I've got these as kind of isolated little sections. This one is kind of all set on here. You can see I can access the bottom to do window details and interiors and lighting and things when I get to that point. I've been working since the last update probably mostly on the roofs of these. This was left over from some kit that I had. So I've trimmed the top of that out, trimmed the top of this one out, trimmed these out, and I'm starting to place the roofs on these. These I did my construction paper, rolled tar paper technique that I've done for a lot of my structures, and I'm pretty pleased with the way those came out. I've got to do this one. I don't know, this is plastic, so I'm not sure how it's gonna look with these. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it. I'm hoping that it just looks different, which is good because I don't want everything the same. And then these, I kept thinking that I had more shingles, and I did find leftover shingles from my last project. So I think I have shingles left over from this structure that I scratch built. So those will go on here. That's probably one of the next things I'm gonna tackle, but let me take you over to the workbench and show you what else I have for this section here. So I think I kind of like the way these several structures work here. I've got my little shack finally where I had nowhere to put that on the curve here. It's going to be some kind of scrap yard office or little industry or something. I'm not really sure. I'm still trying to figure out the oil tank or the tank situation here. This is kind of like a excess track, storage track. It doesn't really go to a facility or anything. So I'm not sure if I want to make it a facility in here, leave it open-ended. I'm not really sure. I kind of like the way these look back here. I'm not very happy with overall how they look. I mean, obviously I need to weather them and repaint them probably and fix up the foundation and so forth. I've got this little platform which came from, I forget which, I think it came from this structure here. I have one of them there. So I've got something here, but I'm not really sure what's gonna be there. This, I don't really like the way this looks enough to put it so close to the front. So one thing I had toyed with is, you know, keeping it kind of here so it's kind of like an oil facility at this end of the layout. I've got the Featherstone, or Feathersmith, I always forget, I think it's Feathersmith, at the other end, at the Waterbury end, but I just don't know if I like this all here, congested. So for now, it's gonna stay here. It may be, you know, for trucks coming on this access road here. I'm not really sure. Then I've got these buildings here, which are kind of commercial, residential, which doesn't really, you know, kind of feels a little weird, but still figuring that out. So let me take you to the workbench, show you the next bunch of little things that I've been working on. So the first thing that connects back to that little area that I just showed you is this fence, which is going to kind of separate that double track to the back of those buildings. So I kind of tore it up a little bit, made some missing pieces, cut some parts off, and then I added kind of the base for what's going to then be underneath the chipped paint. So I just finished last night, it's dry. This is the part that you're gonna see. So this will be facing the tracks, the nice side will be facing, this side will be facing the back of the buildings. So you're not gonna really see this side. I'm still going to paint that. I might add some signage just for fun. But I'm gonna add paint on top of this and some signage. And I used the chipping medium from Vallejo. And this worked really well. I forget what the last thing probably just for the structures, for the chipped structures. And so I'm gonna do that on here. So I'm gonna airbrush whatever color, I don't wanna make it stark white, so it's some kind of muted white. And then I will chip that off in spots, or a lot of it. I'm not really sure yet. But this side should be pretty beat up because it's gonna be very close to, you know, kind of the main line. So that I will show you progress when I get that done, and let's go to the next section. So here is my near complete GP9. I have finished painting it, decaling it. I forget where it left off on the last update, but I know I had some details that were on order that I wanted to add to it. So I added some MU hoses on the front and some on the back. I have these air hoses, which I may put on there using prototype photos on various GP9s of the New Haven. They don't have MU hoses across the whole back or front, so I'm kind of taking a little bit of liberty, but with my actual placement of them. But I do know that they're not fully across like some locomotives may be. Again, I'm not sure the exact purpose for all of that stuff, but and some locomotives do have them. I've seen them, but prototypically the GP9s that I've seen are a little bit more on one side or the other. So I have these air hoses. I may put these on either the GP9 here or on my 44 tonner, because the ones that came with that kit, the Bachmann, they don't even look like hoses. I'm not really sure what they are, what the purpose of them. So I have these from CalScale. I also got the grab irons from CalScale, which I kind of took a leap. I wasn't sure exactly how big I needed to get. These are drop grab irons, and they looked about right for the size, and you can see them here. I kind of had a hard time putting them on. They don't look too bad if you don't look too closely. If you zoom in and look closely, they're kind of all out of alignment. That doesn't bother me too much. They're very small details. I should have probably made a template or something, but I kind of just freelanced it. And I'm pretty pleased with the way they came out. They do add a lot. They do look three-dimensional. They look much better than the molded ones that I got rid of. I think I need to add one on the front bottom here to make it prototypical. I'm not sure about the back. I'll have to take a look. But the MU hoses and the grab irons add a lot. I'm still toying with the idea with the handrails, what I should do with those. I know the front, there's like a coupler lift or something here that goes across here, and then there's a chain in the middle here, which this just looks terrible. So I'm not sure if I'm going to play around with that at some point, but this is the way it is for now. I added a little bit of weathering, a little bit of dirt and grime on the bottom. I need to add a little bit more on the top, and I think this guy is pretty good to go. I added some glass on the windows. I think I only got glass on this left side front. This one's open, and then the two back ones are open. They were kind of very finicky to get glass into on the backs of those. They're very small. That's not a big problem. I can add that at some point in the future, but I think just those little details, just, you know, from this angle here, the MU hoses and the grab irons look really great. I probably need to detail the paint on the hoses a little bit, so that's something that I'll get done. But it's lit up, and I'll show you it in action in a little bit. So since I've had some recent success airbrushing locomotives, I took it upon myself to touch up this old Athearn Blue Box, which I am just waiting to get a decoder for, and then I'm going to try and get this guy running on the layout. I know Rapido makes a great one, but again, finances are tight, and this is from my childhood. It never ran well at all DC, so I'm curious to find out how it will run DCC. The GP9 runs extremely well. My F7 that I've worked on and shown in past updates is okay. It could probably use a new motor or trucks or both, but it runs a lot better than it had, and way better than it did when I was a kid running at DC. So I'm curious if I can get this little guy up and running. So I had initially, I think I spray painted the ends orange, and I think this is spray paint as well, the black, and I'm not sure what I did with the white. Probably spray painted the white as well. It was something I did a while ago, but I went with the Saucony red, excuse me, the Saucony red for the orange parts on this. I felt that matched a little closer to the prototype from what I was seeing online. Again, New Haven had many different oranges, and depending on the photographs and the manufacturers of the models, they're going to vary quite a bit. If you order paint, there's 3 basic oranges that you can get. The other one is a warm orange. This is what I used for my 44 ton, but I went with the Saucony red for this guy, which was what I used for my GP9, so they'll kind of line up. I don't know if I have I don't think I have decals for this fully. I might have some, but I repainted it last night and it looks pretty good. Just, I have to get a decoder and get that guy up and running. And then I also touched up, this was I think a Southern Pacific initially, and I had stripped it and repainted it, and then I gloss coated it thinking I could start decaling it yesterday. And the decals I have, I'm missing, well, I've got 3 of these, which are micro scale, and I think those are the correct ones. They're pretty close, if not exact. And then I had these left over from the 44 ton. These decals are, let's see if yeah, I'm not sure. The logos there are pretty close to the size that I would need for these, but I think I'm gonna probably just order the micro scale passenger decals. And then I had this logo that goes across the top, and I put one of them on thinking it was the exact match, but it is way bigger. The letters are higher, so that did not work. So I don't think I have the right decals for this project yet, so I'm gonna have to probably be patient and wait to get the correct ones. But then this will add as a 3rd passenger car to my roster, so once I get the decals, I can assemble that, get it up and running, and that should be all set. So those are 2 projects that are in the works. So I've been filming in bits and pieces here. Hopefully this is kind of somewhat sequential. So I have added the fence onto the back in the position where I wanted it, behind these structures that I just recently went over. I didn't paint them yet, probably not on this update. I'm still working on some of the signage that I want to put along there. It's like advertisements and things that would go on this side here. And then moving along, I've started this structure here, which will go in that area. And you can see it's got my basic 1/8 inch wood braces, and it's sturdy enough. Once I get the roof on and get it on its base, it should be pretty good. I've based it off of, I think, a Bar Mills kit, if I'm correct. It's somewhat similar. I forget the name of it. I think it was like the something chair company or something. It's kind of my rough interpretation of that. And that is going to essentially be a garage. It's going to be Willoughby Garage. I've been working on the signage for that, and it's going to go pretty much right there. I've been trying to level the ground off underneath, which has taken a couple of nights to kind of put in sand, readjust, let dry, and that whole process. I also cut this section down. You can see here how high it came up. It came up to like a point. It was kind of weird looking. So I shaved that down. I need to put sculpt mold onto that section. And then I transitioned this part. So the hillside's actually coming along. I've made tons of quick progress on this section. I have just a few details and things to put in there probably, and then it's pretty much complete except for, you know, scenery and cars and all kind of, you know, details and things like that. But as far as basic structures and everything, it's pretty much, I think, where I want things. And then this kit, or this structure here, is going to stay probably there. I probably want 1 or 2 structures in this area, and then one here, which I've started to kind of contemplate how I'm going to scratch build that. So I've got a template under there that's just a stand-in structure, and I got the road going kind of behind that. So I want to hide that curve behind there with a taller structure, probably maybe something irregular, but something like that. So when you come from this direction, as most people would, you won't notice it at all. And then if you come over this way, it will look like it goes behind the structure. So that's pretty good. And then this is, again, a stand-in. So I've got 1, 2 locations here, and then I'm undecided as to what I want to do here, whether it's just going to be scenery. I really like the idea of having a structure that's built into the ground, and I'm not good at that. I've got this one structure here, which I've done a while ago. So I added the door in the back, and I went over this in an update. And then the street level is much lower. And so I need to add some kind of, you know, scenery here to make it look like a patio or something there. You wouldn't just walk out onto the grass. So I kind of have been thinking about it. Maybe here I could do something, then it's kind of close to that structure. So I'm not really sure. And then I've also thought about adding some kind of tall, thin structure, or somewhat thin structure here on this side too, just to kind of hide or break up the street view. Obviously with the trees going alongside on the near side, it will help, you know, kind of mask that long road. But that's pretty much it. So let me go over the running of the GP9, which is sitting here next to my somewhat fresh cup of coffee. And you can see that I've, in the topic of locomotives, I just gloss coated, sorry, let me get my decals to show you. I just gloss coated my my Athearn Blue Box, so that guy's drying, and I got the decals for it. So that's gonna be probably tonight's project if the gloss coat is dry enough, and that will be decaled, and then we'll just kind of sit as scenery on the layout for a while until I get the decoder and get it tuned up and everything. But as far as locomotives, I've been having a problem with my Rapido RS11. It's derailing in two spots, only in one direction for some reason. So it derails right around here, and then it derails right, I believe, around here. I might have mentioned before, my radius is very tight, so it's 22, 24 inches at the greatest. Most of it's 22, and then the inside is 18. I don't have anything tighter than 18, but you know, it's 22 here, 18 on the inside for the most part. And there's so many details underneath which look great, but I've had to shave a few of the details underneath on this side here, so that way the trucks have free movement. So I shaved enough away and it's still derailing. So I've taken a very close look at this section here, and it does raise up a little bit. So for some reason the Rapidos or at least this one locomotive, I don't think anything's wrong with it. I'm really kind of baffled as to why it's so sensitive at derailing in spots that no other locomotive does. And I've got quite a few different locomotives. I've got Atlas. This is a lifelike. It's a Proto 2000, and I've got a Kato, or is that the Atlas? That's the Atlas. That's another Atlas. Blue boxes don't derail. So like, I really am baffled. If anybody is having experience with Rapidos derailing more than other locomotives, let me know in the comments. I'm kind of shocked and surprised with that. Even my Bachmann doesn't do that. So I'm kind of stumped. And again, this section is a little goofy, and then this section I think does raise up a little bit, but you know, my track work's pretty good. I haven't had really any issues, and for something to be as well made as a Rapido and to be as sensitive, it's a little shocking. I understand the details. That's kind of, you know, that goes with the price, and it's great that it's so detailed. I probably maybe didn't need to shave that stuff because it was going to derail anyways, maybe, but I kind of felt like it was a lot more, I was having a lot more issues before I kind of shaved a few of the little inside things. I could go into greater detail with that, but I won't. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any locomotives that are derailing more than not, or if you've experienced Rapidos derailing more often than other locomotives. Again, I've got quite a variety, and kind of shocked that the Rapido's given me that problem. And again, I know the track's not perfect, but for it to be that sensitive when other locomotives are fine over it, and I don't have that problem with anything else, kind of shocking. So let's take a look at the GP9, and that's going to wrap it up for this update. So here goes the GP9, renumbered 1206, looking great. Rolling past the new section of structures. And it is pretty smooth. At speed step 5, it takes a little bit to get going, which could probably use some DCC adjustment. But it's relatively quiet. Let's see, let's reverse it here. So that's speed step 2, and it's grinding, it's wanting to move. Might be able to hear it. Got my refrigerator on. So that's speed step 4. 5, it wants to start crawling. I can adjust the CV values, but I'm pretty pleased. I mean, for an old blue box, detailed somewhat, it's It's just amazing that it looks that good and runs that good. Let's pick up the 2 tankers. Wheels could probably use a cleaning too. If you watch it closely, it does lurch a little bit in areas, but considering what it is, how old it is, I'm super pleased. So this is going to wrap it up for the May update. Hope everybody had a good April and has a great May. And stay safe, be kind to one another, take care.